So unfortunately, this particular event, they did not allow any photography or filming of this event. So this video will be mainly me discussing what it was like to be at this event, what he said, fun facts. So if you're interested, keep watching. If not, you may want to pass along. So before I get started on what I wanted to talk about, I did want to share, I got these really nice gift wrap from Hobby Lobby for 50% off when it was that Black Friday sale time. And so I got a pretty plaid and a gingerbread themed because I love gingerbread. Gingerbread is my thing. And then I even got some velvet ribbon. I got green, red, and then I did something a little different. I got black because I thought the black would look really cute with the plaid. So while I'm gift wrapping and talking to you, I just wanted you guys to know what I was using. I'm also going to put some of these things in gift boxes first before wrapping because some of these things that I'm wrapping are clothes. But let me just move these over. Okay. Now about last night. So Dan and I did something very out of the norm, especially for a Tuesday night. I got him tickets to go see not just his favorite movie, which is Home Alone, but it was a chance to see Macaulay Culkin in person, and it was like a private Q&A with him. So what you did was you went and saw the movie 35th anniversary of Home Alone, and it was in like a movie theater setting, which was great. Had popcorn, candy, all the things. And then after the movie, he comes out and then answers questions from fans. And the questions were kind of like pre-gathered. So they gathered the most common questions fans had ahead of time prior to the event, and then those were the questions they asked him. And it was really interesting. We had a great time. He is just you could tell he's just such a sweet person. You can also tell he's very private. Just by his mannerisms, you can tell he's not so much like a typical celebrity where they're kind of a ham, you know, but he definitely, currently in his life, he is all about his children, which is so sweet, and his wife. And that is the reason why he decided to do this tour, was because he saw how his children love the movie so much. Versus, I guess back in the day, he said that he never really watched Home Alone. He saw it more as like, it was a gig, you know, it was a job that I did. So he didn't have that connection like we do when we watch the movie. And so once he saw his kids see the movie and his wife, he started seeing it in a different perspective. And then he started understanding how truly great the movie really, really is. And so that's what made him decide to do the tour, to be quite honest. That's what he said. Watching the movie in a theater setting was awesome. That was an experience I never got to have. When I saw Home Alone, I saw it at home because I was way too little to see it when it came out in the theaters. I believe I was still pretty much like a baby, so I also wouldn't have remembered it. But seeing it in a theater was awesome. It actually made me enjoy the movie even more, just because of the sound, and hearing other people laugh at the movie was really fun. And so it just gave you a different experience, which was really cool. And then when it was over and Macaulay Culkin came out, I was telling my mom, it was really interesting because I didn't like... I had an emotional reaction, but not like a crying reaction, more of like I think it's just like you see someone who's hit your childhood. And so it was kind of like a, oh, like kind of moment. I can't describe it, but it was definitely like a feeling that you don't normally get when you see people. But for some reason, you can tell he brings out a certain part of ourselves that it hits like an emotional thing in your heart. I don't know what it is, but I was just really happy to see him, and I knew Dan was super happy to see him. Dan has loved that movie since since the first time he saw it, and he's seen it so many times. It was one of those movies when he was a kid, it was on repeatedly, like back to back. So he knows that movie well. He knows it by heart. I do know it by heart too because of the many years I've seen it, but his love for that movie runs very deep. And so it was really cool to be able to see Macaulay Culkin in person. He looked great. He looked healthy. And yeah, it just was so nice to see him in such a happy time of his life with his kids and his wife. You can just tell this is a good time for him. And I was telling Dan, I actually feel a lot of gratitude that we were able to see him during a really good moment in his life. And so, him talking about the movie, I'm sure he's talking about it in a totally like positive perspective, because now his kids are involved in it. So it was really cool. Some of the questions that were asked were, did he do any of his own stunts? And I think he mentioned that he really didn't. He had a stunt double, and if you look at the movie now, you can tell. When I was a kid, I didn't even notice, but he said his stunt double was a 30-something-year-old man. Like, I think he was like 34. And so he was a grown man, but he was very short. And so Macaulay said that even when he saw him as a kid, he couldn't quite understand if the guy was like 13 or older. It was just very confusing for him as a kid. But yeah, the guy was a 34-year-old man. One of the other things that he brought up that I thought was really cute was that his kids actually do not know that he is Kevin in the movie. So I guess when they watch the movie, they call it the Kevin movie. They don't even call it Home Alone. And he even said that his oldest son thought that was himself in the movie, like he's Kevin, But I guess, yeah, he won't tell his kids that that's him. He kind of wants them to figure it out on their own. And so he says just now the oldest is possibly catching on because I guess his oldest son asked, oh, can I see a picture of you, Dad? Like with your brothers and when you were little and all that. And so he showed him a picture, and he said his son was looking at the picture and then went like, hey, who's this kid? He looks like Kevin. And Macaulay was like, that's me. But he said that his son, like, you could tell like the wheels are turning a little bit, but that he still doesn't quite get it, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, I guess he's waiting because he wants there to be this, like, when they're watching the movie, he wants there to be like and him being able to be like, yeah, you figured it out now, so he just wants them to kind of find out on their own. So one of the questions was, did they use a real spider in the movie? Clearly they did, especially in the close-up shots. Obviously you can tell it's a real spider. But I guess they also used a rubber spider. So during the times they used the live spider, I guess in order to make the spider move in certain directions that they wanted to, they used one of those like spray cans that you use to clean your keyboards. They would use that to kind of be like, okay, I want the spider to go this way, and then this way. But the one time they used a rubber spider is when the spider was on Harry's chest, and Marv is like with the crowbar like this, ready to whack him in the chest because he wants to get the spider. That time they use a rubber spider. And I guess I never noticed it, but I guess Macaulay said that if you really pay attention and look at it, you could tell it's a rubber spider. So they also talked about John Candy, and of course, you know, that's always a sad topic because he is no longer here, but he did mention, you know, that he was a really nice man, and John Candy was one of those people who would genuinely ask how you are and meant it, he said. Like, he would ask, Macaulay Culkin said, like, he actually felt like this particular person actually cared about him, you know, and how he was doing and all that. And he said in Hollywood that's actually very rare. And that John Candy is very authentic. So who you see that on TV and movies and stuff, that is really who he is, in the sense of he is a very kind man. And that, you know, he was always thinking of others. I don't know if many people know this, but like Home Alone, when he did that, he didn't make any money off that movie, John Candy. He actually did it as a favor. I don't even think he made anything. If he did, it was like chump change. It was just more of a favor. And that was who John Candy was. And if you watch the documentary, which I recommend you should, even Macaulay Culkin's in it, and he talked about that. But even in the documentary, they said that that was probably one of John Candy's biggest faults, was that he was too giving all the time. And he did a lot of favors, but because he did so many favors, he was always so burnt out. And, you know, John Candy was definitely a person who didn't fit into the Hollywood mold at all, which is why I think also Macaulay Culkin and him connected so well, because they're very similar in the sense that they're not your typical Hollywood kind of people. They're very private, very family oriented. So anyways, so he talked about that, and then he talked about Catherine O'Hara. And Catherine O'Hara, of course, like, he still keeps in touch with her. She is a big part of his life still. And I guess when they see each other, it's very much like a mom and son relationship. So he said the last time he saw her, he was at an art show and she didn't see him. And he said all he had to do was go, "Mama." And she turned around, she's like, "My son." And then, of course, they like embraced and stuff. But he said that she was definitely his secondary mom. And I guess she recently was at his Star of Walk of Fame ceremony, and it was because his real mom couldn't make it, so she stepped in. And he said that, yeah, like, when they're together, it's like time has never passed. They are still mom and son. So I thought that was really cute. They were also saying, even though like the traps are bad enough, but they actually, what he said was one of the stunts that actually caused them the most stress about putting in the movie was the scene where he's sledding down the stairs versus all those pranks. But yeah, like the scene where he's sledding down the stairs, I guess they were the most nervous about that because they knew so many kids were going to want to try that after seeing it in the movie. So it was like this close, they were this close to not even putting in the movie, but then they decided to do it anyways. But what was so funny was he asked the audience, like, how many of you tried to do that at home? And you should have saw how many hands went up. So clearly their concern was valid, but you know what, it happened anyways. But I just thought that was kind of funny because I could have sworn I've even done it when I was a kid with the neighbor boys that I grew up with. I know for a fact we slid down those stairs, which is quite dangerous. Do not do that. So, after he did like a couple, I mean, I'm not going to go through all of it, but after he did a few like Q&As and, you know, just also just talking about his current life and what's going on, he also did a fun little trivia portion where he had some like trivia questions that he wanted to ask, but what I loved is that he didn't allow adults to participate. It was only kids. And so what he did was he had this tennis ball and he would throw it in the crowd, and then if an adult caught the tennis ball, they had to pick the nearest kid to go on stage and answer the trivia question that he had. And so that was actually kind of fun. I'm glad he did it that way. I thought it was because the thing is, Home Alone is a kids movie, so I thought it was cool that he incorporated children into this event. And you could tell the kids loved it. But I do wonder if the kids have any idea, like, how cool it was that they met Kevin, you know, from Home Alone. But anyways, questions were really easy. Like, one of them was, what was Kevin's dinner the night that the Wet Bandits were officially coming into his house? And so, like, of course, the answer is mac and cheese. And so what was cool though is he was giving prizes, and the prizes reflected the answer. So he gave the kid a box of mac and cheese, but he signed it. And so another one was, what did Kevin get at the pharmacy before he got chased out by the clerk boy? And of course it was a toothbrush. And so he gave the kid a toothbrush that was approved by the dental association, and he signed it. And then what was another one? Oh, what did the Wet Bandits slip on, you know, on the floor when they were trying to run after Kevin when he went up the stairs? And it was those little box car, you know, those little cars. And so he gave a kid a car, but he like signed all of it. And so I thought that was a really cool souvenir that he was giving these kids. But, you know, if we wanted anything signed, we were able to get it. They had signed posters by Macaulay Culkin and Funko Pops. Obviously, we didn't get Funko Pop because we don't collect Funko Pops. But I knew Dan wanted some, you know, something. And so he got a movie poster. And it's not that big. It's probably like this big. He got a movie poster of the Home Alone movie. And it's signed by Macaulay Culkin. So we'll probably get that framed very, very soon, and probably put it in this room because this is kind of our TV room. So yeah, I thought that was really fun. Overall, it was a really cool event. They did have a VIP like after show part where obviously you had to pay extra for that, but the VIP thing was like you got to have, you know, the opportunity to ask him more questions more directly, which I think is really, you know, that would have been cooler to do. But honestly, like, one, we were so tired because we normally are not out that late on a Tuesday, and we had work the next day. But also, you know, I enjoy him talking to us about the things he wants to talk about, you know, and I'm sure some people have some interesting questions, but I'm sure there were questions that he's heard so many times. And I do feel like it is really kind of him that he's out here doing this for the fans, and, you know, having the patience to continue to talk about this movie for as many years. It's, you know, it was out back in like the late 80s, early 90s, and he's been talking about it all his life. So it is really sweet that he has the patience to do that and still talk about it. But yeah, you know, it's okay that we didn't do the VIP. I think what we did was enough, and it was so fun. All right, and then here's the poster real quick, and you can see his signatures right there. Pretty cool. So we'll get this framed. So overall, I feel like the Home Alone experience was great. If he does it again, I would highly recommend it, especially if he comes obviously to your city. So definitely go. It was a great thing to do around the Christmas time. And it's always fun to relive nostalgia, right? I'm always about nostalgia. I talk about that all the time. And while I was talking, I did manage to finish wrapping my gifts. This is actually really good paper from Hobby Lobby. So if you are looking for some good, thick, quality paper, I would go with Hobby Lobby, especially when it was like during the 50% off time. So if they have this actual same pattern as well next year, I might get it because this turned out super cute. But yes, definitely get their paper. It's better than Target. Target's paper is, to me, ridiculously priced, not enough on the tube, and sometimes not as good as quality. So don't bother with Target. And I'm really excited because I get to use my tags that I got at the Scandinavian market. So this is all I have to do left, you know, on the presents. Anyways, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. All right, bye.